Welcome to the Village Pod, a podcast focusing on the students, staff, and community members that make Village Elementary unique. We are your hosts today. I'm Brenna.
I'm Chloe.
I'm Mrs. Evans.
And I'm Bentley. We are here today to kick off a new series of our Village podcast. This and the next 8 episodes will be covering what we have been learning about in our Eagle Leader meetings.
We have been learning about the 7 habits of happy kids. The 7 habits of happy kids are leadership skills that all kids can learn, and they are based off of the 7 habits of highly successful people.
The 7 habits are 1. Be proactive. 2. Begin with the end in mind. 3. Put first things first. 4. Think win-win. 5. Seek first to understand, then to be understood. 6. Synergize. And 7. Sharpen the saw.
We have learned a lot about how to work on creating these habits to help us become better leaders and be successful inside and outside of the classroom.
We want to share what we have learned with all the students at Village and our community. So we are recording this podcast episode to help everyone understand more about the 7 habits.
Each episode we will invite someone on as a special guest. We have chosen these people because they are role models for us and exhibit characteristics of each habit. However, we won't be talking about a specific habit today. We are taking a step back to start at the beginning.
Before we can share about all the habits, we must understand what a habit is. A habit is something that you do over and over again without even realizing you are doing it or thinking about it.
There are good habits and bad habits. We have learned that it is really hard to break bad habits and hard to start new ones.
We have invited our guest, Miss Newhouse, on to talk about habits.
Welcome, Miss Newhouse. Thank you so much for joining us today. Would you like to tell our listeners a little bit about yourself?
Sure. So I am a first-year teacher. This is also obviously my first year at Village, and I grew up about an hour away in Wellsville, Kansas, and I went to college here at ESU, and I loved the Emporia atmosphere so much that I decided to stay to teach here.
That's awesome. We're glad to have you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for coming. We are excited that you are here. Have you ever heard of the 7 habits?
So actually, before I was asked to be on this podcast, I had never heard of the 7 habits. So I wanted to do some research so I knew about it before I came on the podcast and talked about it. So I did my own research, and they were exactly what you told us the 7 were. So
What's your favorite habit?
So after reading all the 7 habits, I chose a favorite, and I said that number 4, put first things first, was my favorite habit because I noticed in the profession of teaching, there are a lot of things that you have to do, but if you focus on putting your most important things first, you can learn to organize your to-do list. So that's why that one's my favorite.
What is a good habit that you practice?
I have done this since I was probably your guys' age because my mom made me. I make my bed every single morning, and I don't do it on the weekends, and that's what I need to fix. But I make my bed every single morning.
I try to do that every weekend day.
Well, you're doing better than me.
What is a bad habit that you have?
I hate to admit it, but I bite my nails, and I think it's just the anxiety that I get sometimes, and it's like a tick, and I just bite my nails, and I don't know why.
We actually watched a video when we were learning about the habits about the Berenstein Bears, and she chews on her nails, and so they try all these different things to try to fix it. Have you ever tried to stop biting your nails or done anything?
So it's getting better. I usually try to keep my nails painted or professionally done. I like to get my nails done a lot, so that helps. But when I don't have my nails done or I don't have fake nails on, I put this gross nail stuff on, so that way if you put it in your mouth, you'll get that bad taste and you'll be like, yuck, and you'll spit your fingers out of your mouth. But
But
Yeah.
that's the thing with a habit, like we've talked about in our meetings, you don't even realize you're doing it, right? Do any of you all have any habits that you do without even realizing?
I bite my cheek a lot, and then it starts bleeding, and then it hurts to eat food.
Yeah, that's a bad one.
I push my glasses up a lot, even when I don't have them on.
I did that same thing the other day. I had my contacts in, and I went to push up my glasses and just poked myself in the forehead.
I remember when she showed us that.
Yeah.
She took off her glasses and she went,
What habit do you do every single day?
That one I had a hard time thinking about because I was thinking about the habits that I do every single day, like making my bed in the morning, drinking water as soon as I wake up. But out of the 7 that we have, I would say putting first things first I do every day, and also being proactive. I think I'm pretty proactive when it comes to schoolwork, when it comes to my family life, my home life. I think I'm pretty proactive, and I always look to see the brighter side and work to focus on what I can control and what I can do. So that would be my opinion of what I do the most.
what habit do you use the most in your life?
Probably going back to that same question that you just asked, I would say probably those putting first things first. I know making your bed isn't on the list of the 7 daily habits, but I feel like that all kind of goes into the topic of doing a habit, you know? Have you ever heard that it takes a certain amount of days to make a habit, it takes a certain amount of days to break a habit? So if I just continuously work to do those same habits, I feel like eventually after a couple months, it'll just become like second nature to just do it every day.
What habit do you think is the most useful in your life?
Think win-win. Because to me, when I hear think win-win, obviously I had to do some research about what it means, but from my understanding, think win-win is you're thinking about everyone on your team, everyone on your in your classroom, everyone in your family. You're thinking of how you can allow them to be successful. So if I'm thinking win-win, I'm thinking, wow, you win, I win, we win. Am I right? Good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How do you teach people to create good habits?
So in my classroom, I do a lot of repetition. So if we are learning a new skill, I do a lot of, it's called whole brain teaching. So what I do is we do a lot of words and a lot of actions. So if I want them, my students, to create a habit of as soon as they get a paper or a worksheet, the first thing I want them to do is put their name on it. We have a little jingle, right, Brenna?
Put your name on it and your number.
And your number, exactly. So we do a little jingle when I pass out the papers. And so that's how I'm kind of getting them to get in the routine of making it a habit to put your name on it as soon as you get your paper.
What habits do you think are most helpful to your students?
Definitely first things first. Because as kiddos, our young minds are developing. We can sometimes see a little tiny bump in the road as a big mountain. And I know I think that way too. So I think that one would be the most helpful because you're teaching them to identify what you can do, what you can control, and you're teaching them little tiny ways as to how you can become better every single day.
Sometimes people have nervous habits. Do you have any that you do when you get nervous?
So previously I mentioned that I bite my nails, but I don't do it as often. But I somehow replaced it with a different tick. So I really like to take my hair and pull on it and just play with it or swirl it around. I know Brenna sometimes sees me doing that in the classroom.
I have a question going back to the jingles. So they do that jingle in your class. Is there any, can you all think of anything that you guys do that helps you remember? Like, I still remember jingles from when I was a kid, like songs like This Little Noun Floating Around, or like the 50 Nifty States, or like To Tie Your Shoes. Do you guys have any of those little ways to remember to do things?
There was one in, I think, second grade with Miss Page. She said, put your name on your paper or you pay $1.
So So did you actually have to pay $1?
No,
Oh, okay, good.
not a
Good.
fake. It's a fake one. She had like little green papers.
Oh,
and she had
fake
a little
money?
Paint. Yeah.
In the
So you-
classroom?
So you did have to pay $1, just not like a US dollar.
Like you had to pay class money?
Mhm.
Oh,
We use class money in our class, don't we, Brenna?
yeah. How do you create habits in your classroom?
So going back to kind of the repetition, repeating things, doing things with your hands, your actions, and your words. But also, I think the most important thing to know as a teacher is the first couple of weeks of school, all you're focused on is just making sure the kiddos, the students, understand the habits, the routines, and being mindful to remind them that if they forget the habit or if they forget the routine, it's okay, and let's just try it again and let's practice it the right way, right? Yeah.
Are you currently trying to create a new habit or break a bad habit?
So I'm still working on the nails, but I gotta save up enough money to go get my nails done. But I am really trying to run/work out every day. And on Wednesdays, when it hits 4:30 after our meetings, I'm like, man, going home, sitting in my bed, eating a pizza, watching TV sounds really good. And I'm trying to be disciplined and at least just go on a 30-minute walk. At the very beginning of the year, I woke up at 5:30 and went to work out. That lasted about a week. I really tried hard, but I knew that in order to be successful, you also need sleep. So I wasn't going to put my sleep schedule over my workout schedule.
Yeah,
But
that's habit number 7, sharpen the saw. So.
see, I should have done deeper research into it to figure out exactly what each habit was defined by.
Right.
So
Well, and each episode will focus on one habit, so you can listen to the future episodes of the podcast and learn more about them.
yeah. Well, I'm so happy because I myself am a podcast listener. I love listening to podcasts, whether it's about daily habits. I've never actually done daily habits on like learning of them on my own, but I do like workout podcasts, crime podcasts, Christian podcasts. I just like listen to podcasts, so I'm super excited to be a part of this one.
Do you have any advice for the people listening? It can be related to the habits or to your life in general.
My advice when it comes to habits is first do your research behind them. Find out what works for you. Don't try to do all 7 habits all at once. If you can focus on one habit and master that one, maybe then you can ease into getting all 7 mastered. And some advice about life would just be putting your heart and soul into what you do every single day. Because I know it sounds cliche to say this, but you truly never know when your last day on earth is going to be. So make it your best every single day.
I like that. That reminds me of our chant that we do every Eagle Eater meeting. Can you say it? Okay, ready?
Good, better, best.
Never let it rest till your good is your better and your better is your best.
That is awesome. I
Yeah,
love
we
that.
say that at the end of every meeting because I mean it wholeheartedly. I think, like you said, just make every moment count, and whatever you go to do, whatever it is that you want to do, try to do your best. Yeah.
Have you ever been on a podcast?
Actually, I've never been on a podcast, so I feel honored, and it's just so cool to be here in this environment, and I feel so official with my headphones, and it's just awesome.
I feel that too.
I've been on one.
Was it this podcast?
No.
Well,
It's
We've
like the winter one, I think.
Last year we did a winter traditions, and so people came on and shared what their favorite winter traditions were. So we had a whole bunch of people on. So
Cool.
you can go back and listen to it. It's on the website.
Yeah, I wasn't even aware that we had a podcast or past episodes, so I need to look into that.
This will be our first episode, and it will be released in January. But we have past podcasts that have been over all different topics. We've invited people on. We've had this is kind of a mini series on the 7 habits, and there's all sorts of things you can see on the website.
will we do this again, or is it just this one is our turn?
This one will be this group's turn, but all the 3rd through 5th Eagle leaders will record one podcast. Yep, for all the Eagle leaders throughout the year, we'll do one. So we'll end up having, I think, 9 total episodes that cover the habits.
That is awesome.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for having me on. I really, really appreciate it. And I just feel honored to be here. And I'm grateful for this opportunity to talk about what I do in my life. So thank you.
It was fun to have you come.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you, guys.